I'm Sam Smith. I'm Bob Sorokanich, and this angry-looking shoe is the Toyota Corolla Hatchback. The 2019 Corolla Hatchback. This is an oddball. It's got a manual. It's one of the few small cars we can buy with a manual anymore, but you do that, it's worth it. You get into something like this, doesn't have a lot of tire, doesn't have a lot of brake, doesn't have a lot of motor, doesn't really have a lot of anything, but what it's got in balance, and it uses everything it has pretty well. Now, it used to be that most small cars in America were something like this. Stuff's gotten a little bigger, people want a little more comfort. It's the reason that most of Mini's lineup is now full of large cars. It's the reason that the Camry is bigger than it ever has been before. Everything gets bigger. The Corolla has kind of sort of stayed the same. This version, the hatchback, is new to America.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a gamble for Toyota because hatchbacks don't really sell very well right now. I think this is going to be one of those cars that's secretly an enthusiast car. If you end up buying a Corolla hatchback with a stick shift, you don't do it by accident. You know what you're looking for. You're just looking for a fun, efficient car that's not terribly expensive. This starts just under $20,000. And it's kind of a hoot. I mean, you're doing a lot of upshifting and downshifting here, Sam. How's the transmission? Ooh, it lands good. That's the whole hot hatchback idea. It wasn't originally the idea of a 300 plus horsepower Civic. It's small, lightweight, efficient, and by very nature of being small and lightweight and efficient, fun. And this is a really tossable car. I mean, it does not have super sticky tires. It does not have a really stiff suspension, but it's just sort of fun to drive.
And what's here is approachable. It's easy to get up to the limits of the tires in the car and feel like you're doing something and accomplishing something, which, you know, it just makes it feel like a machine. Fine, sure, I know what you're saying. All this stuff is what people who buy slow cars say. They couldn't afford the 600 horsepower station wagon, so they sit there and talk about how their 160 horsepower Miata is amazing. And all you think is, yeah, I dusted it away from a stoplight in my station wagon yesterday.
Right.
But on a back road, frankly, I think I'd rather have something like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can rip around at 90% of, like I said, what you've got, what the car's got. Not really endangering life and limb, still carrying a decent amount of speed, and you feel like you're working to get there. I'm using full throttle a lot more in this thing than I was in a 600 horse wagon. This is the other side of the coin. As modern cars have gotten better and better and faster, the smaller stuff has gotten better and better, and it hasn't really gotten any faster. It's just got more fun to drive. You know, Toyota doesn't have a long history of making nothing but fun cars. They have a history of occasionally spitting out great cars, like some of the Celicas, some of the Supras, the 2000 GT, and having a pretty broad lineup of pretty boring stuff. But when they do think about it, they can turn out great stuff, and this is an example of it. And that's why this car's available with a manual in the United States, because there are a handful of people who get it. Some of them pick this.
So what don't we like about this car?
Well, it's a little bit noisy inside. We're on a pretty quiet road, and there's a decent amount of road noise making its way in. It's a little expensive. 19 grand's a lot. That's getting close to Jetta Camry territory, Jetta Camry Passat, loaded Jetta or Camry Passat territory.
Its styling is a little bit aggressive. Not everybody loves a hatchback that looks like an angry shoe. I kind of love it, actually. I think it really looks cool. It's got a neat little spoiler on the roof, but the look is not for everybody. And honestly, that's about all I can think of as far as knocks on this car. It's a pretty impressive little car.
Right, it's got decent steering, it's got actually a pretty good brake feel, it's got a nicely damped throttle and a nicely damped shifter. It feels relatively mechanical. Believe it or not, these things are getting rarer and rarer, and even in small cars they're getting rarer. Small cars getting better and better to drive, but it's a pretty good package.